Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Millennials in Charge, where we unpack the adult experience, one honest conversation at a time. I'm your host, Lex the Millennial, and today we're talking about fear. Whether it's fear of failure, judgment, or success, it sometimes can be so crippling that we remain stagnant. But I'm here to tell you that fear is not always a stop sign. It's often a signal that we're on to something great and meaningful. Today, we'll explore how to navigate fear, embrace discomfort, and take action when that doubt creeps in. I first want to acknowledge that there are two types of fear. The first type is that kind of innate sense of danger that protects us from our environment. And that other fear is what limits us. The fear that limits us tends to stop us in our tracks and keeps us stuck in our comfort zone. It raises that self doubt that tells us we're not good enough. But learning to tell the difference is the key to moving forward. I think we have to realize that fear is a teacher, not an enemy. It shows us where we need to grow, and it pushes us towards those important moments in our lives. For me personally, fear went from foe to friend. I used to be afraid of failure because I had perfect patty syndrome. Now, perfect patty syndrome is when you constantly strive for perfection and like wanting to be received in a certain way. So for me, I think all my life I've always known that I wanted to be a doctor. Initially, it was becoming a medical doctor. I have a history of asthma in my family, and I started off as wanting to be a respiratory therapist because of that. And then my youngest sister was born prematurely, so I wanted to become a pediatrician. Now, this journey was not easy because I personally didn't know any doctors. I didn't have any doctors in my family, only the doctor that I seen when I went for checkups. But none of them looked like me. So it's very hard to kind of realize this dream. My mom is a cosmetologist, so she asked her clients who worked in the medical field. They might have been nurses or nurse practitioners, and she'd ask them for advice on like what I should do. So they would tell me like what classes I should be taking, all of these things. So I went to school, and I think like maybe my sophomore year, the end of my freshman year, like that summer, I took a practice MCAT exam, and I didn't do well. And then my sophomore year, I retook it, still didn't do well. So here I am. I keep trying to take this MCAT, and I'm not doing exceptionally well. Like I was getting good grades in school, but I'm not getting good grades on the standardized test. Now, if you're like me, many of us don't do well on standardized tests. I think maybe we build it up in our minds too much. I'm not sure what it is. So I just kept failing this MCAT exam. And so let's fast forward to graduation. I don't have a good MCAT score to apply to medical school. So I ended up applying to an internship, and I got it. During this time, I was going to study for the MCAT and do my internship, make a little money, and then hopefully pass the MCAT and then apply to medical school. Well, I completed the internship. I think I took the MCAT, did better than the practice exams, but I still didn't like have a competitive score. Um, so I ended up staying and doing a post-bac program where I had my internship, and I took classes for MCAT, had all the books and everything, and I just still like could not defeat this exam. So this is where I had to learn to pivot. I had to realize that there's more than one way to get to where you want to go. So I began weighing my options, just kind of like, okay, maybe I can still help people, because for me, that is my life's purpose, to help people. I think I've known that purpose for a very long time in my life. What I haven't known for a very long time is how to get to that purpose. So again, like I said, at first, wanted to become a doctor. Then, you know, I was talking to my mentor, and she was telling me like, you want to help people, maybe you should look into like getting a master's in public health. So I did that. And that pivot really changed my life. Learning about public health taught me I can make the changes I want to see from a different lane. And I think that quote unquote failure taught me that success is not linear, right? It's not a straight line. I told you guys, like, the road to success is very much so up and down, mountain highs, valley lows, twists and turns, life's curveballs. Because at the same time, while you're pursuing success, you're also trying to deal with life, everyday life. Deciding to pursue that master in public health was me changing my perfection to progress. So I think as long as I was striving to help others and I was making progress towards my purpose, I was on the right track. So you may be saying to yourself, how do I know when fear is holding me back? When it comes to your dreams, fear is always holding you back. I'm going to say that again. When it comes to your dreams, fear is always holding you back. If it scares you, that's all the more reason to do it. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf said it best. Your dreams have to be so big that they scare you. And if they don't, they're not big enough. It's important to dream big because if you fail forward. And then you learn to pivot. I talked about this on an interview I did on the Playmakers Blueprint podcast with Bria Goss. And you guys should check that out. It's called the Playmakers Blueprint with Bria Goss. And we dove into fear, and I really just wanted to expound upon that because I think a lot of us are struggling with that fear, and we need to get a hold of it. We have to realize that failure teaches us more lessons than success ever could. If you ever spoke to a successful person, it was in them trying everything and finding out what worked and what didn't that taught them their greatest lessons. We have to realize the power of discomfort. Discomfort is a part of the process. Every time we step out of our comfort zone, we experience resistance. But that resistance is often a sign of growth. When you're uncomfortable, you know that something is changing. Embrace those awkward moments because they will only bring progress. You have to change your mindset. I keep telling you guys, you have to change your mindset. Focus on the right now. Take it one step at a time. And when things get tough, you need to take inventory of which step you're on. Meet yourself where you're at and just keep pushing forward. As someone who had perfect patty syndrome, I did not like uncomfortable things. My biggest discomfort as a scientist was presenting my work. I could not stand it. I knew what I was talking about. I knew what I did, but I just did not like presenting it to others. Public speaking just wasn't my thing. It still might not be, but here I am podcasting, and that's okay. But I think even with that, like again, I told you guys, I was afraid of podcasting, but I'm still pushing through that fear and doing it because I do feel like I have something valuable to say. And I know we're all struggling with something. And I think we all need to feel like we're being seen and heard. But with me presenting at work, I remember this one presentation in particular. I had to do it in front of my department head. And I practiced and practiced and practiced. And I practiced with my group. And I just really was like trying to find every excuse not to do it. I was like, ooh, maybe I can pretend to be sick, or, I just did not want to do it because I'm like, this department head, he has all these accolades. He's going to ask me some questions that I don't know, and I'm just going to pass out. So here comes the presentation day, and I kill it, which I was surprised. It went well. I didn't have any questions that I couldn't field. It was like amazing, right? And they told me how well I did. And it was like, had I just let that discomfort stop me, I wouldn't even present it. And it led to some collaboration with another lab. So it's like, I wouldn't have got that collaboration had I just let my discomfort and my fear of presenting stop me. I think managing discomfort takes practice. You need to reframe your thoughts. You take small steps. You celebrate progress. That helps you build resilience. I think you have to just keep pushing forward through fear and discomfort, no matter how hard it is. It's hard, but no matter how hard it is, you just have to keep moving forward. We have to be realistic in knowing that facing your fears isn't about eliminating it. It doesn't mean that you won't fear again, but it's about acting despite of being fearful. One of the biggest barriers to overcoming fear is the fear of failure. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the success. It's imperative that we realize that comparison is the thief of joy. I'm going to say that again for my people in the back. Comparison is the thief of joy. We have to stop comparing ourselves to others. You have to start comparing yourself to yourself. Compare your last year self to your this year self. Compare your last week self to your this week self. Comparing yourself to others will only make you feel as though what you have is less than. Your race is not their race. Your journey is not their journey. You guys did not go through the same things, have the same obstacles, or the same victories, and that's okay. Stop comparing yourself to others. I think it's important to realize that your persistence matters. The more you practice stepping into fear, the more confidence you build. This is proof I'm doing it. I'm stepping into my fear right now with you guys, and I'm doing it. And it's only helping me build confidence. So you guys are a part of my fear journey. So never give up. Keep going. Keep fighting. Even if it looks like you're going to fail, there's a lesson in that failure. The more you run from it, the more times God will teach you that lesson. And trust me, you want to learn the lesson the first time. How do we apply these lessons to our everyday lives? We have to realize that fear shows up everywhere in our careers, our relationships, our personal growth. The key is to learning to recognize it and move through it. By shifting your perspective on fear, we can approach life with curiosity instead of avoidance. Instead of avoiding that thing, let's say, I wonder what would happen if I did take that step. Small, consistent steps help us to build courage. The more we practice, the easier it becomes to face new challenges. One of my favorites, J. Cole said it best: if practice makes perfect, I'm practice's baby. If practice makes perfect, I'm practice's baby. So I think you just got to keep practicing and you'll get to the, and I don't like the word perfection, but you'll get to that progress. So just remember that. Keep practicing, keep going after it. I want to leave you with this. Be fearless. The worst thing that can happen is you get better. You learn a new skill that can help you in your pivot. Remember, we love a good pivot. Think about it like this. These big companies come out with, different chip or cookie flavors. They're getting you to try it. And not all of them are good. We know that. You've had some that were disgusting. But what happens when they see that disgusting or nasty item isn't selling? They pivot. That item probably goes on sale so they can make a little money off of that error, but then they start mass producing their popular items. So that thing you're scared to do it anyway. I know you could say to yourself, everyone is doing it. So what? How many companies sell you jeans, shirts, sneakers, and other things? There's so many. And why? Because the quality of each is different. Your quality in what you're selling or bringing to the table is different because there's no one else in the world like you. So fear will always be a part of life, but it does not have to control you. When you face it head on, you create opportunities for growth and transformation. This week, I challenge you to take one step towards something you've been avoiding due to your fear. Maybe it's having a tough conversation, or applying for a job, or simply acknowledging what's been holding you back. I want you to take the time to either write it down, discuss it with someone that you trust and that's close to you. If you want, you can even tag me and let me know what fear you're facing this week or how you face the fear this week. You can tag me at Lex the Millennial and Millennials in Charge with using the hashtag Facing My Fear. And let me know what you're doing, that small step of progress to face that thing you've been avoiding. Stop avoiding it. You can't run from it. And it's okay. You can do it. I promise you can do it. I'm doing it. This is it, and it's not as big as I hyped it up. So you guys really just have to keep going forward, keep pushing forward. With that, I'm going to let you all go, but thank you for tuning into Millennials in Charge. If this episode resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with your friends. Let's keep tackling this wild ride of adulthood together. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to catch Millennials in Charge every Wednesday at 6 a.m. Eastern. You can tune in on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. See y'all next week.